Rod doing Rod. It's been a while, right? So we're gonna call this season 2, episode 1. And this is a good time to do season 2, episode 1, because today was the first day of school. And I realized on the way home that there was a crucial mistake I made today. That mistake didn't have anything to do with the actual teaching. Did I make mistakes today in teaching? Of course. I made mistakes on the last day of school. I made mistakes on the first day of school last year. I made mistakes on the 100th day of school. I'll make more. That you can always live with. You can always think of something you could have done better. No one is better at criticizing what you've done than a teacher. So I can self-criticize to the cows come home. And there are a bunch of things that I could have done better, but that's not what I'm talking about. That I reflect on, and I just, that's a constant process. But I could have missed this thing, the thing that the podcast is about today. This is more about who I am as a professional, something that I should have done that would have made my day better than it was. Either way, it's the greatest day in history. It's the greatest time in history right now. Don't let the doom and gloomers, bring you down with all their doom and gloom. Walk around, spread sunshine, act like God sent you. And I got to be grateful because I was so prepared, and I was very reflective over the summer as the first day was approaching, all of those things. And I worked very hard. And I had this type of day today because I worked very hard. And that's what I realized on my way home. So what happened? Okay. It's the first day of school, and unfortunately in my school, the decision was made that homeroom teachers, that means the basic classroom teacher, I work in primary school, we would have our students all day with no breaks. We don't need to go into how I feel about that decision, but that was the decision. So I accepted and tried to do my best. That was a challenging situation, and I expected it to be. It's just an inherently challenging situation. So that I can always appreciate, because there's nothing easy about this situation. There's nothing that can be done about that. So that's the part where you accept the things you can't change. And you're just optimistic. But what happened is I had a series of people come to my classroom today with negativity, and I didn't expect that. Most of these people were people that I actually like and think highly of, or something like highly. But I don't know, for some reason today was the day to come to Mr. Rod's class and tell him how bad they think my year is going to be. And it's crazy because actually my year has started off better than I think any year in my whole career. I'm very appreciative of that, and I really enjoy my team, and I really enjoy what we've done to launch the school year. So it was really none of those people, not really. But I had people come up to my room, look at my class and say, "Oh, good luck." Okay. "Oh God," stare at me, waiting for me to panic. I don't get that. Say really negative things about the makeup of my class, say really negative things about how I should feel about them. And it was just a succession of people. Now, I can appreciate having the class that looks like there'll be a challenging class. Yeah, we know that. This is part of teaching. It's all that teaching nonsense. You be like, oh, you have her and him and them. Oh, man. Right? This is just a part of the game. And teachers think from a deficit mindset because we're problem solvers. So we think of things from what's wrong. But the problem is often we are not solution oriented. We are spot the problem oriented, which is only half the battle. So like I said, I had a succession of people who I didn't even expect to be that way come and say negative things about the makeup of my class. It was almost all about what they expect my experience to be this school year. The same thing happened last school year, and I had an amazing class. Maybe this school year won't be the same, but I don't know. It's only day one of 180. And let me get to the mistake that I made. As people were coming up to me and they were telling me these things, I would tell them, no, it's okay. I wouldn't entertain it much. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. We'll take care of it. We'll do our best. Some version of that was my response each time. But I'm realizing now the mistake was I didn't do a good job of protecting myself. I didn't do a good job of making the decision to choose the spell, the language, the spell, okay, casting a spell with words, which is, I have an idea of language. You can heavily influence how other people experience the world just with your words. This is what we think of as a spell when we talk about, magic and things like that. But magic is just your misunderstanding or lack of understanding of the universe. And I know I have the ability to cast spells with my words. Now, right now, you're like, Rod, Dag, I know you was on all that stuff, but it's not as mystic as it sounds. It's just like you need to make sure that you're choosing the right words that make people understand what you want them to understand, and that is going to make them know how they should deal with you. So I made the mistake of not choosing the right words. I didn't choose protection language. I didn't protect my energy and my space. And because of that, I was low vibrational by the end of the day. And I was low vibrational because all of those people's negative energies affected me, which normally they don't. But normally I kind of choose, the right actions, the right language. But I was in this perfect storm where I had new students and new parents that I was focusing on getting to know. And I was captive in one space for most of the day. And a lot of people were entering my space. Normally I do the opposite. I leave my space. I'm around the place, so people would come to me and they're like, it was a challenging day and everything. I'm like, yeah, but not in the way you think. It was challenging because it was challenging to who I am as a person. A lot of the things that was going on, me having to stay in one space, me having to deal with people coming in and dropping off their energy in my space and things like this. So what I should have done is I should have told these people, don't say these things to me. I've told people already, I don't want to hear negative things about the children, about the kids. But I usually say that much ahead of time when they look at, the students that I'll have in my class, and I say, don't tell me negative, don't give me negative notions about them before they're my students. But the difference is, in the moments, as people kept bringing me this negative energy, and this was exclusively through words, because there are other ways you can bring people negative energy, almost exclusively. There was one situation that was a little different, but I should have reacted with, please don't continue that conversation. Don't speak to me with that kind of language. I have no use for it. I have nowhere to hold it, and I just don't want it. It's not important to me. And I didn't do this. So I didn't think of this ahead of time. I knew people would come with the doom and gloom, because that's just what they do. And they do it to me a lot because I have a very calm demeanor, and they want me to be stressed. They think there's something fake about it, I think. And they think that I'm trying to be super cool and everything like that. But it's not that I'm trying to be cool, and it's not that I have turmoil or chaos inside either, because I don't. I'm a person who does the other part of what I said. Most teachers think from a deficit mindset. They spot problems. I spot problems. I solve problems. To solve problems, you have to be in a calm state of mind. You have to be in a zone where you can see the possibilities. And this is kind of where I live. I live in that space. And, people mistake it for arrogance. I don't know what, but I guess just as a patient and calm person, you're always going to be faced with, probably more than other people, you're going to be faced with people coming to you and wanting you to panic and wanting you to be stressed. And who wants to be stressed? So for me, yeah, there's stress around, there's stress to being a teacher, there's stress with the parents, with the work, with the students, with the admin, all of that. But my particular brand of stress doesn't come from that as much. It comes from people wanting me to be stressed and what they do, how they express that. So I've developed a lot of good methods to deal with that. But this particular thing, what I was saying today, people dropping off their negative energy in my space, I wasn't prepared for. And, I was disappointed in some of these people. And what I realized was, it was the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, telling me, are you really what you say you are? Are you really up for what you say you're up for? Or just making me prove it, period. You can't say you're about the gratitude and the optimism and the grit and the perseverance. You can't know that you're about that unless you have to actually practice it. You can only practice it in very challenging situations. And, when there are certain people I expect to be like, certain people I expect to be negative, certain people I expect to be downers, certain people I expect to be haters. And then there are people who I'm totally, who totally blindsided me with that kind of energy. And I realized afterwards, it was like, oh, you're supposed to, this was a gift, because I reflected on it. And now I remember, not even remember, now I developed another layer to my thinking, another dimension to my thinking. It's like, okay, what if you're being bombarded with negative energy and you can't go anywhere? Freedom of movement has always been a big thing for me. I mean, as far back as I can remember, I leave my neighborhood and go to other neighborhoods to read. I'm the type, I go to all kinds of spaces. I'm okay by myself. I move around. I'm just, so my freedom of movement was taken away, and I went through a situation, and in the moment I didn't succeed. And that failure taught me a lesson, so I'm grateful for that, because I'm going to use that going forward, because it's going to keep happening. It won't happen in that specific situation again. See, this is the thing. This is what I want you guys to take from this, is that situation was extremely unique. It's not going to happen for the rest of the year. I'm not going to be captive in this one room for 8 hours when I thought I was extremely ready. And then people are going to come in there with all this negative energy. That group of circumstances only happened today and would only happen today. So because of that, I got to take advantage of it. I could have not reflected on this. I could have just been pissed and annoyed and then gotten nothing from it. And this situation would have never come back around again. And I would have missed the chance to become stronger, to become doper, to become more resilient, to become more rodder than I am. So, I don't deny the frustrations. I don't deny the annoyance. Like I said, I was low vibrational by the end of the day. I was functioning on the vibrations of those people, but I don't typically function on that vibration. And As far as the class, it's the work. I don't know. Certain things that are just like apparent to me, like, of course, I try to communicate them, and maybe I just don't have the words, or maybe we're just not on the same wavelength for people to understand. When I tell people, I'm like, I don't worry about I don't want a class full of very challenging students, right? But the way teaching goes, there's so many different factors that can affect your happiness that you have to minimize that. You have to say, I'm going to develop a way that this is not going to be something that's going to have me blowing just with the wind. Pause, So a long time ago, I accepted the fact that you can come into a school year and you may have a more or less challenging situation. And you don't let that be the thing that's going to throw you off. Never, 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 because when you're teaching, it's transactional. It's more transactional than we like to admit. There's a customer. So it really is like this. There's a customer, and it's the parent. I'm talking about private school. They pay their tuition, and you're promising to deliver something to them. And this is a product and a service that I'm delivering, that I get a salary for. And, this is, when I think of it in that way, different customers require different approaches, and it's not a thing where you have to feel you don't want, if this was a business, you wouldn't feel so down or let your emotions be willy-nilly because one customer is a jerk and another is nice. 3 customers today were jerks and others were like, yeah, you may call them jerks or something like that, but your expectation is that they have different personalities. You're focusing on the product, you're focusing on the service. You could agree or disagree with me, whatever. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm just telling you that I look at it in a transactional way, that I have a group of parents and students. Parents who are the customer, who gives me their students, and I try to deliver a service to them to the best of my ability, because I know my specific service is going to affect their whole lives going forward. So no matter what type of child it is, I have to keep that in mind. Every day I'm developing that child's perspective on the world. That's really the service that I'm providing. I think that's transactional, but I know that that's not how we're supposed to look at it in education. We're supposed to look at it like it's the most, we're supposed to look at it from an ethical standpoint, almost a moral standpoint, even though the whole system isn't set up in that way, right? Anyway, that's a topic for another podcast. So, yeah, I will make the decision in the future to have the language, that protection language, to make sure that I know what I'm saying, that I'm expressing myself in the correct way to make sure I'm protecting myself. Because when I think of protecting myself, I think of action. I try to be a person of action, and sometimes words are the actions. Sometimes I don't get that right, because I'm a person who wants to do things. Like I said, I have freedom of movement. So I'm thinking of, what can I do? Where can I go? Who can I approach? But I should have thought of it from a more defensive standpoint. I should have been defensive in a positive way, positive for me, in a beneficial way, not defensive in, I know what I'm doing. I'm doing things right. I'll be okay. The students were bad with you. They're not going to be bad with me. That's not that kind of defensive. I should have been like, I'm defending my energy by telling you, you are 5 words into a low vibrational, negative type of language, type of speech, type of communication. I'm going to stop you there. You can make a choice. We can continue this in a positive way if you learn how to reframe it, or let's just end it, period. So in my last interaction of the day, it did end up going more like that. I didn't nail it completely because I wasn't in this mindset. I was just like frustrated. I didn't want one more of these conversations, and it's my classroom at the end of the day. I didn't expect to be faced with someone who generally I don't feel has my best interests at heart, and who I feel doesn't want to see me succeed. So I didn't. But that's how it goes, right? That's how it should have been. It should have been like, you thought it was done. Now the final boss. You thought it was done. Now here, let me throw something really bad, really tough and challenging at you. And I must have chosen protection language. I can't right now in the moment remember exactly what I said, but I chose the right spell because the person then went from the negativity that they threw on me when I came into my room. They changed from that to trying to be more positive and just be in a positive space from then on. I wasn't really up for it at that point, but I focused on the work and I just tried to stay focused on what was important. And I did, I spoke cordially and professionally with the person, but I did notice that my choice of language led them to be more positive. And that's what I should have had in mind from the beginning. I don't know. I shouldn't say that's what I should have had in mind because I didn't know that this was going to happen today. So, but in hindsight, in all the other universes, in all the other instances, 14 million Doctor Strange instances where we have this first day of school, I choose language Doctor Strange and I choose the protection spell, that protects my energy and makes it so that this ends up being a podcast about something much different. So day one of school, and we're gonna have a great school year. This is the best time in history, and we're alive. We didn't know we'd be alive today, but we're alive. And we're gonna make it awesome. We're gonna make it amazing. This is the new season of Rod Doing Rod. Y'all be good. Peace.